Ooh, welcome back to the Links Golf Club podcast, everyone. Your live show about our wonderful club and the world of golf. I'm Gregory, joined by Cooper, Chris, Bossy. She's sleeping. On this week of the Links Golf Club podcast, we recap the Links signature event at Tree Farm, discuss how our games changed in 2025, and share the goals we're chasing for 2026. But without further ado, let's bring in Chris. Let's bring in Cooper. Gentlemen, how y'all feeling?
Good. Happy to be here. Hope everyone had a lovely Thanksgiving holiday. We had a little bit of time off, but I'm stoked to be back. I don't want to speak for you guys. I am happy to be here talking about golf. There have been not enough golf swings in my life. It is cold up here in the Northeast, and I read that the proper way to decide whether or not to play is if you can beat the 9-hole score, beat the temperature with your 9-hole score. So when it's, kind of below 40, I don't go out there because I can't reliably do that.
That's a great rule of thumb. I've never heard that before.
Might put some pressure on you if you're like, if you're right on the borderline and then you're not going to make it under the line, it might be some undue pressure.
True.
Yeah. The weather in Nashville is pretty cruddy. I'm doing this half marathon training thing, and it's like really hard to want to go out and run outside. I hate running on treadmills, and as like the mile volume goes up, just like running 8 hours or 8 miles on a treadmill is just not great. So the good news is you warm up, but the hands get really, really cold. But I was in Florida this past weekend, and it was unbelievable. Like I'm not a snowbird, right? So like I don't really get out of Tennessee in the winter that much. Usually I'm either going to like a colder place like New York, or I'm staying in Nashville. I can't tell you the last time that I went to a warmer climate when it was cold here, and I see why people do it. It was awesome.
Yeah, agreed. And we got a little flavor of that at the Tree Farm too, which we'll talk about.
True, it was
certainly it was much warmer for me. I'm in Coop's locale, where there's definitely in danger of not shooting the score of the temperature on 9 holes. And another weather talk, there's lots of leaves falling, which unfortunately means there's lots of leaf blowers right outside my window right now as we go to record this live show. But hopefully it won't be too problematic here for the rest of the show. We'll see.
We'll get through it. We've had worse technical difficulties in the past, so I think you're a pro. We're all pros. I think we're going to figure this out. Before we dive into our main agenda here, Chris, you got any housekeeping?
Yeah, well, first off, just off the bat, we want to give a shout out to the company that was the sponsor for our event at the Tree Farm, and is also a great partner of Linkstyle, has been for a few years now, but that's Golf Breaks. So if you don't know of them, they're one of the best kind of golf tour operators out there. They've been around since 1998, when their kind of stated objective has been for saving golfers time and money when it comes to organizing golf vacations. They do that with trip planning service. They kind of do expert travel advice, and since starting in 1998, they have sent over 3 million golfers on trips worldwide, which is pretty incredible. But so they've been a partner of ours, really since the get-go, since in early 2022. And then that was extended to, sponsoring the Tree Farm event this past month, which was great. And we'll talk more about. But there's a couple new things also on the Linkstyle front as it relates to Golf Breaks. So one is they have actually put together 3 itineraries specifically for people that are going over to visit Spey Bay. So like all of our members, if you're thinking of making a trip over next year, you're going to go play Spey Bay. Maybe you're going to go to the Summer Solstice event or the Ryder Cup event, but you want to make a bigger trip out of it. They've actually put together 3 itineraries that you can bolt onto a Spey Bay trip. So whether you want to go to Spey Bay and then golf in the Inverness region, go to Castle Stewart, maybe up to Royal Dornoch, or if you want to go the other direction over to Aberdeen and play like Cruden Bay, Royal Aberdeen, there's great courses in both directions. Or drive a little further south and do a trip out of the Fife region in St. Andrews. any of those three, they've actually put together itineraries. You can actually see them, on the page that Group has up here. So that is very cool. I think it'll be a great feature for folks that are making a trip. Obviously, we also have an incredible GM over in Scotland, Bert, who can make, kind of more bespoke trips, or if you want to do something that goes outside of those itineraries. But if you're looking to do kind of a prepackaged, take care of everything, lodging, transport, and all the golf all in one go, Golf Breaks is a great solution for that. So they've got those kind of specific itineraries for us Links members and Spey Bay aficionados. And then I shouldn't skip over the fact that they've been great partners to us all along, and that means our Link Style members get great benefits with them. So as has always been the case, Links members can get up to $2,000 off a trip with Golf Breaks if you're planning one for next year. Specifically, too, if you're planning a group trip, you can get some really great savings through your Links membership. So check that out. You can head to Clubhouse if you're a Links member, see all the details there, see the link to this site where you can have all the itineraries to tack onto a Spey Bay trip for next year. Or for anyone else, go to golfbreaks.com, check out everything they have to offer. They do both US trips and UK or anywhere really globally trips, so you can check out everything they have to offer on their website. They've been a great partner, and yeah, super excited to have them continue to support us.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Cooper, what you got?
Yeah, we are going to be doing another Links Millionaire drawing here on the 17th. So 1 week from today in Discord. As many of you already know, we have a Links coin. It's a fungible cryptocurrency that you can acquire in your own wallet and self-custody, or you can pick some up on Gemini. It is the first and only golf coin listed on a major exchange. So go and grab some, send some to your friends. It makes a great holiday gift. But if you hold over 1 million Links coin, you can verify that in our Discord server, and it makes you eligible for rewards, prizes, golf balls, free rounds of golf, hats, apparel, and other fun things. So to jump in the Discord, verify your holdings. If you have questions about how to do it, open up a ticket. We'll help you out there. And then while you're in the Discord, if you're traveling over the holidays, maybe you're heading south to get out of this cold weather to play some golf, be sure to hop in the regional channels and look for some places to play. Some other Links members have great recommendations for not just golf, but events, restaurants, everything else you might want to do wherever you may travel. And you might just make a new friend and play a new course that you didn't expect to get on. So make use of that as you're traveling around this winter, and keep playing some good golf. For those of us in the north, maybe you'll get out to 5-iron or an indoor simulator or something like that this winter as well in those regional chats. But that's what I've got. I really want to hear. I did not make it to Tree Farm. How was the trip, guys? I mean, Chris sent me a Gatorade, canned Gatorade Tree Farm head cover. I'll pull that out in a sec. But how was the canned Gatorade? That's my first question.
Resplendent. To be honest with you, as a Gatorade Zero consumer, it is a little bit annoying that they don't produce Gatorade Zero in a can. I understand that as an adult, I don't get everything that I want, but that would be nice. I did partake in one. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what all the fuss is about. I know this is like almost a meme at this point. It was good. Like, it was cool to see it in the Yeti cooler. You pull it up and they had all the cans in there on various tee boxes and at the halfway house. So that was really sweet. But yeah, it was Gatorade in a can. It was quite good. I have lots more to say about Tree Farm, less to say about the Gatorade in a can, I think.
It's a great, yeah, you can only get so niche with your requests. The the canned Gatorade is one level. The canned G0, I don't even know if that's ever existed, so it's probably,
I doubt it.
Probably a step too far.
It's the throwback formula in the can, so I don't think that you can throw back to something. It's like Zero is pretty new, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I wish glass bottles would come back, because that was the most ridiculous possible thing, to have a glass bottle athletic drink where you're just like out on a basketball court, you got a bunch of glass hanging around. Like, that just has never made sense to me. But I guess cans are better for safety.
probably.
Yeah. I will say they were, Tree Farm was very on point in many respects, but canned beverage is certainly one of them. They had the canned Gatorade. They also had the canned Palomas for a little adult beverage on the course. Yeah, they had a lot going on. They've thought of all aspects there for sure, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable from the jump. I mean, we're working currently on sort of a travel log about the 24-hour event that we had there late last month. That should be out today or tomorrow. And so number one I'll say is, I haven't been to a lot of the signature events. I always look at them on the calendar, and I was like, there's always ones I want to go to. But when this one came on, it was like the perfect signature event for me, because I've read so much about this place. I've seen so much about this place, and I knew that it was going to be something that I liked before I even got there. And sometimes you have to prep yourself for disappointment that way, but I had pretty high hopes, and I would say that everything that we saw there, the time that we had with other members, all the conversations, the playing golf, like exceeded any expectations that I had. It was, the way I would describe it is like it feels very much like one man's vision, and that vision very much aligns with, how I think about music, how I think about vibe on a golf course, how I think about design, how I think about architecture, how I think about food and drink and sports, and just it had everything that I'd want. If you gave me, I guess by all accounts, anywhere between $30 and $60 million to build a golf club, and I'd probably come up with that or something similar to that. So we can get into the details, but that's like my high level review. I mean, if you want to go to a place that just kind of really feels like you're able to relax but still experience really world-class golf architecture, this is a place that you need to put on your list.
Yeah, I think it kind of served as a good scouting trip or ideation trip too, just thinking ahead to like Hillcrest or other aspects that we can think about at our courses as well, which is always helpful. See what other people do well or not do well, but they certainly kind of have thought a lot of the aspects of the experience there at Tree Farm. And also, maybe before we jump in, just for those that don't know, we can give a little bit of background on what the Tree Farm is. It's one of the newer courses in the country. It was just built a handful of years ago. They're still kind of building out everything there, I would say. I think the lodging there just opened over the past year, and I think they're still building some additional pieces of it there, still growing in, still kind of maturing and everything. But it's a very new course. It's a brainchild of Zach Blair, the PGA Tour player, who has kind of had this vision about building a course in a few different iterations over the past number of years. But then that ended up happening in the Tree Farm, which is outside of Aiken, South Carolina. So it's kind of what's now a booming golf destination. There's all sorts of new courses being built there. It's a very good destination for that for a number of reasons: sandy soil, climate, all that stuff. But Tree Farm was actually kind of the first, right? Like Zach found the land for it however many years, like 7 years ago now, before kind of any of this boom was happening. And now there's a whole slew of courses that have been built or being built there. Old Barnwell, 21 Club, New Holland Golf Club was kind of announced more recently. There's kind of a whole list actually to go down. But so it was kind of that brainchild of one guy that you were referring to, Greg. And it's been interesting for us because he was in the stages of launching it kind of as Linkstyle came to be, as we were launching, right? Like right at the end of 2021, early 2022. And obviously some similarities there, right? Like kind of a more, building a course, having some community of people come together that didn't exist before and everything. And so we actually were connected with him early on. And so it was kind of interesting to see how kind of both of us and our projects have evolved over the last now almost 4 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. but super interesting backstory for a course, but then kind of plays into probably some of those experience components that you were thinking of, Greg.
Mhm.
You want to just maybe give a rundown of like the itinerary? Like
Mhm.
what was it that we did there? When we were there for 2 days, 1 night.
Yeah, so, first step is getting there. It's 30 minutes, ish outside of, Augusta. So there is a airport there, for people who have direct flights into Augusta. That's, easy airport, good sort of rental car pickup situation. Living in Nashville, that ain't me. So, I ended up I drove because it was door to door, much faster than having to connect through Atlanta, get to Augusta. Picked up Chris at the airport. We drove in. It's very, even though it's 30 minutes away from Augusta, which is a, moderately sized city, it feels very remote in a good way. So like, you pull in off this state road and you turn into this gate and you're driving down a gravel road and you start to see the course in little bits and pieces. You arrive. So we got there and there were already some Lynx members there, met up with, obviously went in, changed our shoes, checked in, all that stuff. And it really sort of described as sort of lunch to lunch, right? So we have, lunch on day one, then go out, warm up, go play a round of golf. We did some putting on the putting green, did some nice competition there, had dinner. One thing of note there is because it's a destination club, there's not a lot of people there on any given day. I think we saw there were only 6 members, I think, on property plus our group. And so, the room itself is pretty small, like the dining room. There's, I think, kind of 3 big communal tables and then maybe 8 tables on either side of that. They're a little bit smaller. And everything sort of really pushes you to hang out with your group. Some of these trips you go and, yeah, maybe you'll eat with people, you'll play golf with people, you go back to your room, you watch TV, you'll catch up on work, whatever. But the communal dining experience is pretty special. Everything's sort of brought out family style, big portions. You take what you need, and you sit and eat. So after lunch, we went out and played. We talked about the golf course. It was great, especially the back stretch. And then we had dinner, went to our lodges. There's no TVs in the rooms. So we, a handful of us stayed pretty late, sort of solving the world's problems and shooting the shit. Maybe had one too many of this delicious cocktail that we were drinking on that time. But then woke up and, it's a beautiful property in the morning as the sun's rising, fog sort of settles in. Like it's just great, golden hour on both sides of the day. And then we played another round of golf, had lunch again and left. So it was a pretty quick turnaround, which they sort of are really good at. Operationally, the check-in is seamless. People are really nice and warm and welcoming. As you're playing golf, they're getting everything over to your room. So that way, after your round, you head into your room, all your stuff's already there. You're taking your shower, you're getting ready for dinner. And then all your stuff is ready to go and your car's parked next to your room as you leave. So it's just like, I'm sure like a lot of members are coming in for, maybe 2 days, maybe 2.5 days, whatever. But for one of these lunch to lunch 24-hour trips, it really couldn't have been any more seamless.
Yeah, it is a well kind of packaged thing, right? Where it feels like we got the full experience. We got to play 36 holes, but it is, in a pretty compact amount of time for sure. I was trying to think through what aspects most stood out to me or what felt the most unique about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, Greg, but kind of the things that felt like they were very intentional and, didn't have to be that way, but were that way. And so one thing was definitely the communal dining or kind of the more communal nature of just the common spaces and everything. And that also goes to no TVs in the room, right? That was one thing that stood out to me. Like it feels like a place that was intentionally built for having people come together, be together, through golf, through meals and everything else, and not just have separate groups, right? Kind of a more communal feel to it was for sure one. And then, the other one is maybe just, I guess it's just how outstanding the food and drink was, but everything like on course and off course felt very like looked after.
Mhm.
Like it was very intentional, like a part of the experience. It wasn't just a golf course with a restaurant or a really good golf course with a restaurant. It was more than that. And those were two things that stood out to me. I don't know if there's anything else you'd add to that list, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said earlier, is like sort of the vision of Zach, as he probably thought about a place that he wanted to hang out at, right? So it's, the only other kind of real comps I have for these kind of destination places is, Stream Song or Dormy Club in North Carolina. Kind of the only ones that I've really been to. I mean, Prairie Dunes, I guess, has lodging on property, and that's sort of a destination club for a lot of national members. Obviously, like some international courses like Spey, we're going to have the lodging on site and everything else, so it'll kind of have that same feel. But I think a lot of hospitality experiences are kind of about like guessing at what like the widest aperture of people will want, and like making sure that there's really great experience, and every box is checked. And that's sort of when you go to Stream Song, it feels like you're going to a really nice property, sort of like the hotel is great. It's this big hotel. Dormy Club is obviously a lot more laid back, but it's still not buttoned up isn't a good word. It's sort of hard to explain, but it's like it's very professional. It's very, clean. Not that Tree Farm is dirty. I'm like searching for adjectives here, but when you go to Tree Farm, like the impression that I gave, that it was very much of like Zach deciding, like, how does he find other people that relate to him, rather than trying to build a place that relates to as many people as possible, especially like the requirement of being people who will pay a lot of money to join their probably second private club, right? So this is a niche sort of target demographic. But it felt like pretty uncompromising in that ability to say like, I want this to almost feel like all the stuff I have is curated. It didn't feel like you go and you like there was a decorator who, I'm sure there was, right? But like they just did a really good job making it feel like you're going over to someone's house. And so that the intentionality that you described is certainly there. But then it's also like the other little quirks about a private club that makes it so different. Like on 18, there was a stump. I'm sure they removed a tree at some point. And then I'm sure at some point somebody just like started putting ball markers from their home club there. And now there's like 1,000 ball markers shoved into this stump, which, gives you sort of a sense of, especially in a really short time, how many people have gotten there. But, that wasn't like a Deloitte consultant who said, "Hey, we should put a bunch of ball markers in a thing." That was just like something that happened, right? It's the same thing like when clubs get, signature drinks over time, or like it was somebody who made it or a bartender who made it. Now it gets all of this aura. And so that really kind of, it felt handmade, I guess is the way that I could say. It's like going to a really cool local coffee shop versus going to, a Pete's Coffee or something like, or a Blue Bottle Coffee, maybe is the best, in the Bay Area. So that's what stood out to me, is it felt very much handmade.
Yeah, that's a good adjective. I like that.
So I'd love to ask you guys, the experience, the hospitality sounds top notch, right? Unique, very cool. I spent some time in South Carolina, the Aiken area. Like you said, rural is a good description. You're driving through these, just kind of pine forests, and it's sandy. You guys have played a handful of top 100 clubs at this point now. Tell me about the golf. I know it's kind of like on the cusp of the top 100. A lot of rankings, a lot of lists have it. A lot of lists have it in the top 200. Any memorable holes? What was it like when you came up to that first tee that Sunday morning, or that morning with the fog? Sounds really cool, kind of getting out there early. But tell me about the course architecture and how it compares. It's Doak, right?
Yeah, Doak helped with the routing. He sort of, the story that Zach has told is that he had a routing on that property, and he sort of, somebody encouraged him to reach out to Tom Doak, and Tom Doak was like, "Yeah, I'll help," and then redid the routing, and Zach was like, "Yeah, this is just way better. Like you're a professional at this. Like what you're doing." But I don't think Doak was involved in any of the construction stuff. I think he just helped with the routing, is my understanding. Chris might know differently there.
Yeah, that's right. And then Kyle Golby, I think, is the named architect for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would characterize it just overall, separately from the architecture. It is I guess, you think of it similar to like a Pinehurst or whatnot, right? And that it's sandy soil, pine trees. You are playing in corridors of trees and kind of pine straw or native grasses, wire grasses, and stuff, and outside of the area of play. So similar-ish in that respect, but I think it had its own kind of unique aesthetic too, separate from that. Similar to some other, like, Old Barnwell is obviously down the road and you see a lot of pictures of it. It looks similar a bit in that respect. But I liked how, so there's a lot of width on the course, and in general, it's kind of single cut, right? It's like fairway cut and then going into native areas or, trees or pine straw or what have you. And so there's certainly a lot of width on the course, encourage you to play some angles. And I think it's also like, for at least one of the rounds, like didn't lose a ball. I wasn't playing particularly well, but didn't lose a ball, right? It's like the challenge comes in, the strategy of the course, the complexity of the greens and everything, rather than having to hit, tight corridors within the trees or what have you. So I think that makes it particularly enjoyable as well. Like, it's just something that I imagine folks like even PGA Tour players like Zach Blair will find it challenging, but it's also very playable at the same time, which is like a good, that's what you're shooting for when you're designing a course, or most people would be shooting for. So I thought all of that was really good, just like overall, right? Just kind of how the course was thought of and laid out was really good in that respect. But I don't know. Would you agree with that, Greg, or did you have any other takes on that?
I think it shares a lot of commonality with a lot of destination or like non-everyday home clubs, where it is not demanding off the tee as much as it is demanding around approach and on the greens. And there's a lot more sort of fun variability there. Like, one thing that somebody told me about Tobacco Road is that when Strands was designing it, he knew that a lot of people would be traveling to play it. And he knew that when you travel, you don't really want to be challenged. Like but what he did was make everything look like it was really challenging, but in reality, it wasn't. And so it made you feel heroic. It made you feel like you had accomplished something that was beyond your skill level. And because of that, it made you want to tell stories and whatever. So I think that commonality, maybe it wasn't as intentional in that way, but like a lot of really fun golf courses that you want to go experience that aren't your home club, I think it had that similarity. The greens weren't wild, but there were definitely places that you were just boned. Like, you got in a really bad spot, and 3 putts and 4 putts were available to you. I think the 14 through 18, like you asked Cooper, where does this rank? This is right now on Punch Bowl. This is my 5th favorite course I've ever played, behind Sweetens, which bias, and then Royal Dornick, Prairie Dune, Lookout Mountain, Prairie Dunes, and then this. I think, like, I haven't played a lot of the like top 100 golf courses in the Northeast or like in other areas, but just based on what I played as far as favorite goes, I had a great time. Now, I did play vintage clubs, so both rounds, which honestly, like, I think I shot like an 85, 86, or 87 on the first day. Like, felt pretty good. Like, that's the first time that I think I've ever broken 90 with the vintage clubs.
Nice.
I probably shot 200 with Chris on the second day. Like, I could not find, let alone the center of the persimmon driver, I could not find the head of the persimmon driver. Like, it was pretty wild, and just felt super uncomfortable with the ping putter just all day. Which ended up, like, I played another round the next day in Atlanta, and with my regular clubs, and I just, like, I was gone. Like, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with my new clubs. It's taken me like 3 weeks to get back to striking the ball as well as I was before. But yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a very good golf course. Like, besides, like, the things that I loved about it were not the golf course. Like, those are the things that will stick with my memory longer. But I can't think of a better like last 6-hole stretch of anywhere that I played or even really seen. Like it's just, it builds and it builds and it builds. And it kind of feels like a Beastie Boys album where like the Beastie Boys would go and they'd go to a record store and they'd like find all these records and sample. Like Paul's Boutique had like hundreds of samples in it and they just loved all this type of music. The golf course kind of felt like that, right? There's a Redan, there's like all these bits and pieces of architecture that he'd cataloged over time and then created this remix that makes sense with the land that it's on. But like I felt really sad on 18 both days because it like builds and builds and builds. You hit this on 17, this is par 3 that's really tough. And if you hold that green, you feel really good and you're almost like out of breath because you just like it keeps getting better and better and better. And then you get to 18, you're like, ah, shit, it's done. Like, why can't there be like 5 more holes? And then, yeah. So I think the course is objectively great. I'm sure people could quibble where it ranks or whatever, but in the context of the property, in the context of the location, in the context of the hospitality and experience, it's one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. It passes the "can I remember every hole" test, which is a key criteria for identifying a good course, I would say.
Would your dog like walk it? Yeah, for sure. You know, like that's 2 of the 3, right?
Yeah. And yeah, the finishing stretch is awesome. It's that stretch of holes is incredible. I think we said that the first day, and then going back and playing the second day was just made it even more so. But it's kind of big variety of holes. It's like 13's is not super long, but kind of visually massive par 5, huge waist area, you know, kind of big swinging dog leg. 14's the down and up par 4, 15's the Redan, 16's this like kind of big winding par 5. You know, you go up, then you go down and around.
Like a punch bowl green.
Punch green, yeah. And then 17, like you said, this kind of plateaued green, short, hard to hold the green. And then 18's I think is an awesome finishing hole, especially thinking of, you know, match play for folks playing matches. It's a drivable par 4, or kind of the intended shot is to land it short of the green, run it up. Even like I played lesson driver, I think, both days. So it's short, very much a half par hole. But you can totally get yourself in all sorts of trouble and, you know, very much risk reward. So yeah, that stretch was awesome. And then there were some other unique aspects about the course too. I'd say, like, you know, starting off on a par 3, relatively unique. Don't see that often. And then some unique features throughout the course, not just on that stretch. And I agree with you that there's a lot of width, and the interest is more in the approach and the greens, which is, you know, maybe more of a modern architecture thing. But at the same time, I will say it didn't, like, my perception of some of the more modern courses done by the top name designers is like going from one to the other, they can feel a little similar, which, like, you know, they might feel like a great, or, you know, they can still be a great course or really fun to play, but they do feel similar. Like that was honestly my part of my takeaway from when we played Old Petty in Scotland this year, which is a Tom Doak course, is that it actually felt a little bit like, you know, Stream Song Blue or wherever, right? And that it's similar aesthetic contours and everything else, and it doesn't feel so different or unique. But I wouldn't say that's the case with Tree Farm, right? It has some of those aspects, but the golf itself, the aesthetic of it and how it played, I wouldn't put into that category. And it was more unique, which I thought was a good thing. You know, it's like, it's not, it certainly is not just copying what else is out there. It is its own thing, which is cool. It makes it fun to go play and play something a little different and have some of those more unique features, like we just described. Even if some of them are riffing off of other courses or other concepts or whatever else, they did a good job of making it its own experience on the golf course, and then obviously with the non-golf stuff too.
Yep. What was let's talk about food a little bit. It'll be no surprise that I want to talk about this. I think my top 3, the homemade chips and dip, just fantastic. Those are really good. Those are lunch on the first day. I'm a big Uncrustable guy, and even if I don't know if the homemade Uncrustable was necessarily better than a packaged Uncrustable, but just having a homemade Uncrustable is, it's good. It's packaged. It has the Tree Monster. Shout out Seth McWhorter, who did our logo, and he did the Tree Monster. And then the red velvet cake with whatever that sauce was. Unbelievable. I think those are my top three. All of it was good, but those are my top three things.
Yeah, red velvet cake, bread pudding with like the cream cheese frosting.
It was,
sauce
yeah,
on top.
yeah.
It was,
yeah.
that was like, legendary. Yeah, that was great. The drinks, the fried chicken was particularly good. I'm, even though I'm a transplant in the north, I'm a southern boy, and so like having some of that southern food. We had shrimp and grits, which was amazing. All of that was fantastic. It was all fantastic. Just topped off by the canned Gatorade and canned Palomas too.
Yep.
Yeah, that was all incredible. And then we'd be remiss to skip over also the ice cream sandwiches in the halfway house as well.
Sandwich was very good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was one of those times where I had too much of the red velvet bread pudding, and then as you go back to your room, there's like I don't know, you'd call it like a station, a commissary, a kitchenette or something. Like, let's describe the rooms a little bit, because they're not cottages. I don't remember exactly what they called them, if they called them cottages or cabins, but it's almost like a motel, which might not exactly put in your head the picture of how nice they are. But you have your own room. Each has its own bed, its own bathroom, and everything else. But there's these buildings which sort of, you just walk into your room like you would at a motel. They're all within, a 2-minute walk from the main clubhouse. But then each of them also has like this fridge that has water and Gatorade and some drinks, but it has the ice cream sandwiches in them too. So stupidly, like right before going to bed, I grabbed one of those ice cream sandwiches after already having the red velvet cake, which was, cheat day, I guess. But yeah, and the shower was great. They kept talking about like the shower in the locker room is apparently like $12,000 or something crazy. I didn't see that. But you can stay. They have like what is it called? The Crow's Nest, Chris, that they have a spot you can stay. That apparently is pretty nice. I didn't see that one, but yeah, just all in all, like it was a great place to go, let alone a great place to experience with other Lynx members. Seeing like, obviously I've played a handful of golf courses with Wally and both Chads, and also got to meet some new people who I hadn't met before and just talked to online. It's one of my favorite things about the events is just like you get that anybody's trip, but like that kind of first moment where you're catching up. Hey, how's the family? How's the kids? What have you been up to? And then as like the day goes deeper, you're talking about work and you're talking about, learning about people. And then at the end, like a lot of the conversation at the end was just like golf courses that we love and golf courses that we want to play. And like that, it's no surprise that a club that loves golf courses as much as we do, the conversation would naturally gravitate there. But I learned so much as someone who's still sort of relatively new into golf. Like I probably wrote down 15 different golf courses I'd never heard of in Scotland and Ireland and even in the US as I was listening to people talk. So I love the event side of it. And I hadn't been to an overnight one, right? That was sort of new to us. And usually it's you play one round, you have lunch, you get out. It was cool spending a whole day with everybody.
Yeah. It was awesome to have the full crew there, good group of folks. And yeah, I think it was a perfect kind of event to cap off the year for sure. Like we did fewer but bigger events this year, and but not only two of them were overnight, right? So it was cool to kind of end on that biggest of experiences, 36 holes, staying overnight, had a bigger group, and getting to do something that's pretty unique. But yeah, I think overall we've had a lot of great events this year that were a little different in nature from past years, which has been really cool. So, and yeah, this is a perfect way to cap it off with a big group there.
For sure. Cool. Well, let's get in here. We spent a lot more time talking about them than I thought we were. So we got a couple other topics here that I want to talk about.
We did. Do we want to pick? Should we pick either stack or the year recap?
Let's like kind of blend it together a little bit, because I think it makes sense in the context of what our goals are. So around this time last year, we had a goals pod where we talked about sort of where our games were at and what our goals were, and we set a bunch of goals. I will say that this year, like I built a website that had a bunch of goals that I was going to stick to throughout the course of the year. I so didn't follow that my back end, because I'm using a free version, shut off and deleted everything because I hadn't used it. I just don't think goals work for me. Like I understand they're important. Maybe the act of thinking about goals and what's important is important, but man, it's like 3 years in a row where I'm like, I'm going to measurably improve in these areas. And I just straight up didn't. Like I'm, at least 2 pounds fatter than I was last year. I didn't hit my golf goal. Like I just didn't really get better this year. Maybe I did, but like at least not based on what I set out to do. That being said, I do want to revisit this topic because I think it's something that like naturally sort of the chats go to around this time of year. And obviously a lot of you are probably thinking about this as well. And I think Stack fits into that. So I want to ask a couple of questions. We can go through this relatively quickly, but first question is like, where is your game right now compared to where it was at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I can go first. It was a little bit of a roller coaster for me. I started out, so my index, just index wise, I think I started in the 9s, like 9.8 or something, and then ended up, I think I'm at 8.8 or 8.6. So ended up a little lower, but through that I went, it got lower into the 7s, maybe even 6s, then got worse, and then ended up net better. I went through a little bit of a roller coaster this year, but overall the trend line's moving in the right direction, so that's a good thing. But hopefully be a little more consistent next year, and kind of doing some good work through the winter.
Yep.
But how about you, Coop? Where are you sitting?
I did break into single digits this year for the first time, so did well on that goal, and I got down to like 6 something. 6, 7, I don't know. Clip that. And then I think I'm settled just right around 7.2 or something, but I haven't swung in a little bit. I've been, the weather hasn't been super great, so probably need to post another score and see how that goes. But I feel like my game got really good, especially leading up to the solstice and training for that, because I was just like walking as much as I possibly could and just getting swings in to prepare for that. So that's where my game, I think, peaked. And then, pretty happy with it at this point. I think I figured out a couple of things. My driver got a lot smoother. Shout out to the Callaway fitting as well for helping me lock in, dial in some of the stuff that my game needed. But yeah, feeling good about my game going into dad life, right? Like if this is the lowest my handicap ever gets, and then I can blame the rest on my kids, that sounds like, a solid place to be.
Hell yeah. That's great.
Nice.
After getting into single digits last year, I started the year as an 8.2. My low was a 6.9, and then I finished as a 7.2. Unlikely that I'll be posting another round. I posted 44 scores to Gin. Low was a 74. High was a 98. Average was 84.4. So all of those things are much better than last year. I still feel like there's a lot of meat on the bone because like I go through these phases where I'm like great ball striking with irons, like an approach, finesse. I'm a good wedge player. I'm getting better at putting. Like all those things could be great. And I just, not just like, oh, I'm driving the ball a little badly. I'm like toe shanking balls 150 yards. Like that part still, depending on who shows up, depending on week it is, that's really still the main difference. Like, and that's like what leads me to hit more 2 irons off the tee, which then leads me obviously to have a little bit worse approach because I'm hitting longer irons into green, blah, 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 blah. So that I do feel like I've gotten better at golf this year, both by Gin and just by skills. I still, and we'll talk about this for next year, but like, I still can't figure out why some days I hit the ball off the toe every single time, no matter if I feel like I'm swinging 7 degrees out and everything else. I can't get my body to do it. I know what I need to do, unless I go to a range and hit 100 balls and feel it, I just can't do it.
That's golf for you.
Yeah. So I'd say like driving, my ceiling driving has gotten better, but my floor has probably gotten worse somehow this year. And I just don't really know what's going on. So let's talk about golf courses. What are the 3 favorite golf courses y'all played this year?
You want to go first, Greg? Well, I think you have some of these written out while I think through what that would be.
Yeah. So I started this year like not thinking that I was going to play a lot of golf at places I wanted to play, kind of checking off things off the bucket list. But this year I got to play Lookout Mountain, which is sort of already East Tennessee is one of my favorite places to be for a lot of reasons, whether that's fishing or golf or being outside. Lookout Mountain was a delight, man. I loved that place. So that's number one. Number two, Prairie Dunes, which I wanted to play since I was a little kid because I spent a couple of years in Wichita and I'd heard things about Prairie Dunes. And that was also awesome, even though I played like absolute dog shit in the morning and then played okay with vintage clubs in the afternoon. And then we talked endlessly about Tree Farm, but that's definitely in the top three. So those are my three this year, and I feel very blessed and grateful for having checked those places off the list, including also being able to play Country Club Buffalo, which is meaningful to me because of Buffalo, and a couple other spots that were great.
Yeah, totally. I think if I had to narrow it down to three, I would probably go with Tree Farm. We just finished talking about it. It was absolutely fantastic. Beverly Country Club in Chicago, which was Don Ross course. I thought was fantastic. Played earlier this year, and then I'm trying. It's very tough to pick between the two, but played a few new Scottish courses. Trying to decide between Castle Stewart and Nairn, and I think I would go with Nairn, but a very tough decision. So both were absolutely great, and played them in quick succession too, so kind of right up against each other. But Nairn, hard to beat the kind of history and just kind of the pure linksy style and all of that, and played with a bunch of links folks, which also makes it a good to look back on as well.
Awesome. Good list.
Yeah. It's tough. The new to you element here is tough because the fact that I played a top 5 course, again, just kind of hurts, but I did get to play the old course at St. Andrews. Shout out to Tony Tan, Big Bucks, and Ted Lasso. We got out there. That was really, really fun day to go play the old course. I kind of kicked off my golf season this year with Pasatiempo, which was just like after a really cold winter, going out to San Francisco and getting like a 70-degree day, sunny, playing, Pasatiempo, and it just hit like unbelievable. Just goosebumps the whole day out there. So that was probably my favorite course of the year. And then another course that was new to me, I would probably say playing Gullin, number 1 with my parents. Brought them over to Scotland, and we got to travel around and play some courses. So that was really fun to experience that property. That was a unique spot if you get a chance.
It's a pretty good list right there.
Love it. All right. So, and this could be, maybe we combine these two, but favorite golfing memory or favorite link style memory. My honorable mention favorite link style memory is not understanding how volume works and saying that I took 50 grams of creatine a day and then just getting absolutely I don't know what the word is, just like, I got made fun of a lot for it. That would be my honorable mention. And then I think the second thing was the Ryder Cup. I mean, the Ryder Cup was super special, and I think sort of the culmination of like what makes Spey really awesome, what makes Linkstyle really awesome, was going over there and being able to really compete with the local membership over there, and that's something that I'll absolutely never forget.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go with. It's hard not to say the Ryder Cup. It's such a great event every year, but in the spirit of picking something else, I think the other one I mentioned is the combination of the Kansas City Hillcrest plus Arbor Links event, where we had a smaller group, doing both of those things, but a ton of fun. Got kind of the event aspect, doing a really cool event at the Dormy Networks Arbor Links, staying overnight, doing that whole thing, plus just getting to walk the ground at Hillcrest, which a bunch of people with a bunch of people that have already joined there, getting to kind of see, where the vision is going and everything that's being built and everything, that was hard to beat. And yeah, so maybe cheating a little bit, but I'm combining those two things into one and saying that was the best of the year.
I'll cheat too, and I forgot the trip that we took to Hillcrest, the three of us with Fez was there, a bunch of the people playing that round on 9, like playing dirt golf in a match that had been played in 1916. That was really fun. So I'm gonna.
Did that count? Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
You mean you have to post that on Gin? Is that what you mean? Yeah, that might be my favorite Links Down memory, actually, because it ties to this was a year of Hillcrest. I mean, it seems like 20 years ago. It's been such a long year, but I
was gonna say, the 2025. I was looking back. February, we had a vote to buy our U.S. golf course. It passed. We did an issue. We kind of 3.5, 4 years out. Looking back, we've got 2 golf courses, U.S. course, kind of the whole thing coming full circle. Just feels really, really cool. And all of that intensity around the vote and everything like that, it does feel a million years away, but that was a time
less than a year ago.
Yeah,
that is funny. I wasn't even thinking of that within 2025. But you're totally right.
Yeah,
hard to miss that one.
Yeah, that's a good. I think that's the consensus pick there. Coop, anything else besides that you want to point out?
I think that the 100 holes by committee this summer solstice was really fun. Greg, you couldn't make it, and I had a great time doing that with you last year. But Chris was out there with me from the very start until the very end. Popped out of the clubhouse to do the last loop with me as it was getting dark. Everybody else who came out, Bez, Jim, Greg Egan, Trees, everybody out there running around Spey Bay with me. That's always such a fun time. So thanks to everybody who came out for that, and best of luck to those who attempt it in 2026.
For sure. 200 hole hike this year. One other thing that I think about as we're on this topic too is one of the things that I really like is whenever someone comes into Discord and is shares an experience they had, but especially the ones where hey, I just broke 100 for the first time. I just broke 90 for the first time. I just broke 80 for the first time. I like those posts a lot. So that's a side thing, but it's not a singular memory, but there's a lot of memories of I know when I do something in golf, the first thing I want to do is go into the Discord chat and share it with people. Or if I have questions or whatever, but I like those. Those are my favorite types of messages to see.
Totally.
All right, so we can speed through this a little bit because earlier I said fuck goals, but I have just a couple of questions. Take these where you will. Where do you want to be at this time next year with your golf game? You can answer that. What courses that you haven't played do you want to? And then what's your practice training emphasis look like to get to your goals?
Sure, I'll go first. I would say if I am at the same place in my golf game 1 year from today, I will be thrilled. For those of you who don't know, I'm expecting my first kid, my son, next month. So that's going to have a significant impact. But shout out to people in Discord who shared the stroller attachment for the golf clubs. So there are things that can be done on that front. So hopefully that'll be okay. If I maintain anything mid single digits, I'll be stoked. And if I get to play any net new courses next year, I will also be absolutely stoked. So my training will be a lot of diaper changing, which maybe I'll get my putter stroke in there. So it's going to be a different year for my game, but we'll see how it plays out.
Setting expectations appropriately, that's critical for goals. On my end, unfortunately my goals will probably look pretty similar to what they were this year, which was get down to a 5 index and that type of thing. But I feel made progress towards it this year, so continue making progress towards it next year. And if we make a little more next year and get closer to 5, that'll be a win. But despite not making it there, feel pretty good about this year and feel good about having some areas that I can work on for next year. So I think when we did this at the beginning of the year or end of last year, I identified short game and getting up and down as one key area, and approach game is the other key area. And so those are probably still true, but I feel made some progress this year. but have more headroom to like keep focusing on those areas and have like clear areas where I can work on and, you know, make some gains towards that goal. So it's kind of is not super interesting. It's kind of like the same thing I said last year, but overall feel pretty good about it actually, that can keep working towards it.
Sweet.
But yeah, I don't know what are your non-goals, Greg?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to play Pasatiempo, as Cooper mentioned earlier. I think that's probably the number one golf course in the United States that I want to play.
Do it.
And I really want to play North Berwick in Scotland. So Berwick. I don't care.
Got to have that right for when you play it this year.
I'm good. I'm gonna say it how I want to say it. And people, y'all have been mispronouncing my name all these years. So I I don't think there is a way to mispronounce my name. Yeah, Gregory. It's actually Gregory. Yeah, I'm caught in the middle because before the absolute meltdown that I had at the Atlanta, not meltdown as in like behavior, but meltdown as in like I lost my game shifting from the vintage clubs to the modern clubs. I'm kind of at a crossroads where I'm like, I just play vintage clubs for the rest of my life and don't care about what I shoot and just have fun, or the other one. But like doing both is tough. And so I don't know what to do about that. But I do like consciously what I am working on is speed. I've lost about 10 miles per hour in the last 3 years of speed. So I'm trying to get that back up because as I get older, I'm only going to lose more. And so that comes into lifting weights, that comes into staying in good shape. And that's why I'm doing the half marathon thing. So I'm really focusing on the body. I think the main thing this year is just the mentality. Like there were certainly some rounds that I played that I felt really in the zone. I felt really confident. I had some kind of like manufactured arrogance that like really helped. And then there's other rounds that I just like still can't play at one shot at a time. So like I certainly have improvements to be made on the golf course in every area, but most notably off the tee. But I want to figure out how to really figure out the mental side of the game. I kind of thought I did, which is classic, right? Like we all think we do. I'm like telling Chris about Buddhism and shit, but it still doesn't always work. So that's the thing. I'd accept anyone's advice. I've tried to read books. I've tried to do it. And I don't really know where to go with golf right now. I know that I can play better than I am. I know that I can be more consistent. But as far as goals go, I might just not have any goals. I might just like focus on the process, focus on
just enjoy it,
accept the outcomes and just enjoy it. And does that mean that I'll end the year as a 5 handicap, which is I wanted this year? Probably not. But similar to Coop, like I think I'm at a place where I can have fun. Like a 7.2 handicap is, I still get some strokes. I can still shoot a 98, but I can also shoot a 74. And that's kind of just accept the volatility of golf is kind of where I'm at. # gratitude.
Yeah, there's something to that. Just being okay with just enjoying being out there and not getting too wound up about the outcome or about the result. Easier said than done sometimes, for sure. But
yeah, impossible.
I mean, I definitely like multiple times throughout the year will find myself like just getting pissed off or wound up about, you know, just not playing well. But then, you know, it's like that's not productive in general. Is just getting pissed off about it. So I like that.
I don't know if you guys have seen the Burnerverse. There's more stuff coming up, but there's a new guy, Persimmon and Garfunkel. If you've seen this on Twitter, you know, Greg, you could lean in. You mentioned personally to me maybe that you would get a new gin number for just your Persimmons, just your vintage clubs, and play that game separately. And like, I would love to see that journey, whether you share it with us publicly or I hear about it time to time on this pod or privately, to hear about your journey with that. And just, you tell me how much fun you have out at Sweetens Cove or anything like that, just playing those and kind of accepting it's a built-in excuse, right? You hit a bad shot. You're like, these clubs are 40 years old, right? Yep. You get to say that anytime, and it kind of takes the pressure off. So if you do lean into that, I think lots of us here would be stoked to follow along.
I'll think about it. I'll keep that under consideration. It is fun. It's just like, Yeah, like when it doesn't work, it's like that's the thing. If I just always played with vintage clubs and people were like, all right, that's that weird hipster dude who only plays vintage clubs. Why? Because the first question people ask, like, why are you doing that? It's like, because I'm a weirdo. Like, there's no other explanation. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not like trying to prove anything. I'm just weird.
Well, there's
And
also
I like it.
Big Bucks No Whammies played with we played Casa de Campo. He played with a Sim 2 driver and hickories. So like you could get some of the modern forgiveness off the tee, still hit 275 bombs, and then just be pulling out wood shafts for the rest of your game.
Maybe we'll figure something out. We got to keep it interesting.
World of possibilities.
I think there's a non-zero chance that Gregory is Persimmons and Garfunkel, or
No, I've seen the swing docs.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I do not have a burner. Well, I'll actually unveil that I did have a burner account, and I'm not posting on it anymore. I started a Jupiter Links fan club, which is actually somewhat relevant because TGL is coming back and some of these holes look awesome. But yeah, I will out myself as the Jupiter Links Twitter account, but I don't have any other burner accounts. Not yet. Yeah.
Country Club Snob was from Tennessee. That's yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's true.
Could be Gregory.
Also not.
All right. Well, before we wrap up, since we're talking about 2026, just some housekeeping here, just in how we're thinking about the podcast for next year. Because this year we've played around a bunch with doing these live shows during the week. Seeing how it went is kind of a fun experiment, but we're going to be switching things up a little bit in 2026. Well, first off, I should say we're going to be off the next few weeks for the holidays, just because the days don't line up well, and obviously people will be off doing some family stuff, and I'm sure many of our listeners will as well. But so next year we aren't going to continue the weekly live show. I mean, just kind of looking at the numbers, most folks that listen aren't listening in live. They're listening, after the show happens. And it has been fun to get kind of live engagement and get people chatting in here, but doing it not live and not pegged at a time during the week will open up some flexibility for us. Just scheduling wise, hopefully up the production quality a little bit, not having the constraint of it being live and doing some editing, and make it easier to do things like get guests on and stuff, which can be a little tricky when we're doing Wednesdays at noon. So next year when we start back up, we'll do things a bit more ad hoc. We'll announce, obviously when we're doing podcasts, or if we want questions or anything like that, or what topics we got going and everything. But you'll still be able to subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll get it served up whenever we do have new shows coming out. So we'll be switching it up a little bit next year, just as a heads up, but you can look forward to more great golf discussion of the Burnerverse and vintage golf clubs and whatever else crosses our mind going through the next year.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to up the production quality a little bit. I'm excited to hopefully get some guests on. So I think do not sleep on this space. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening. So well, that's it for this week. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Remember, check out Hillcrest memberships. Check out Instagram, YouTube for Hillcrest and Spey Bay updates. Got the tree farm video dropping probably over the next 24 hours or so. Hit us up with Discord with guest ideas, hot takes, or feedback. Follow the pod, leave a review, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
See y'all.
See y'all.
Later.
Bye.
Happy holidays.